Today we got no time to lose. BlizzCon is in full swing and I took it upon myself to go through the developer Q&A for Overwatch to pick out what I believe are the most relevant questions and answers to my community. Naturally, I can't just re-upload the Q&A because I'm pretty sure I'll get my channel struck into oblivion as it is against the terms of service according to the BlizzCon virtual ticket I have purchased. So we're kinda stuck with me just reading through it. Do note, however, that there's a lot of paraphrasing going on because some of these questions and answers are fairly lengthy and I tried to condense them to the core. With that said, do make sure you check out the whole Q&A yourself once it is publicly available, as we are only going to cover a part of it with questions I believe to be most relevant. Now without further ado, let's get right into it. Is there any connection between the way Moira siphons power and Zenyatta's healing in Discord Orb? So there is a connection, but it's actually not to Zenyatta, it's actually more of a connection to Mercy. They both work together. Obviously, Moira was a part of Blackwatch and Mercy was a part of Overwatch, but she's definitely taken and modified some of that tech. There is some evidence on the Oasis map that sort of hints at it. He also mentions that Moira herself is curious about how Zenyatta's tech even works. So Junkrat has been changed to have him not take damage from his own explosives anymore. I was wondering if you had similar plans for Pharah and her ultimate. Maybe. I think it's not necessarily a larger gameplay change across the board that we want to affect everybody. Actually, Junkrat was already in a state where some of his stuff already worked that way. His concussive mind already did not hurt him. He goes on to describe how Junkrat was in a weird spot where either they would have to make him more effective on longer ranges, or make it so he can't hurt himself anymore to make him actually viable. So is the next PvE event gonna be on Iconvolt reliving the Reinhardt animated short? They replied saying they can't give any details on future events, but they certainly love the map. Are there any plans to change Symetra in any way? Maybe give her healing abilities to make her picked more in pro play, because she's the only support that does not heal. A very lengthy response included that Symetra was just recently changed to give her an additional ultimate, which really helped, but they do see that she's rarely if ever picked in pro play, and they have shown with Mercy that they are willing to go back and change a character from scratch if need be, but they didn't talk about any specific plans. So we know that Tracer's abilities were heavily inspired by the Jumper class from Project Titan. Was Moira created from those remnants as well? Another fairly lengthy response here includes them confirming that they created Moira completely from scratch this time around. They also hinted at another panel that would take place the next day talking about the influences of Project Titan on the development of Overwatch. So over the past year, it seems that as more heroes are introduced, there's a bit of mobility creep in the game, which means that some heroes, especially on the competitive ladder like Zenyatta and McCree, don't have as many options as to choose when to engage. How are you guys going to deal with that as you make new heroes and revise old ones? I think that's definitely a concern. Whenever we design a hero, that literal topic comes up every time. A lot about what makes Overwatch awesome is the mobility. The way the heroes move is a big part, and the way some heroes don't have mobility is also interesting because they have other aspects that are very strong. It's something we definitely watch out for. I think it's a challenge for us. I guess we just gotta make sure we have awesome ideas that don't always involve mobility all the time. Currently in quick play, there's a distinct separation between players that just want to play whatever and don't try to win, and those who do. We can definitely add more restrictive layers to matchmaking, but every time we add more layers, we increase the queue time for everybody. And that's the biggest problem we're fighting against. We want to make sure that if you want to play Overwatch, you can just jump into the game and play in a reasonable amount of time. He goes on to describe that when Overwatch first launched, their priority was getting these short queue times, but as they heard feedback from the community, they did add more layers to the matchmaker. However, it is a tough balance to strike. They also talked about the idea of trying to add more game modes into arcade that takes away from the quick play population to help players find exactly the experience they are looking for without having to create that environment themselves and hope to find others through a custom game. My question, as a competitive player who has been playing other games that have a really structured competitive system, would you consider adding more redefined scorecards into competitive play only so you can see what exactly is going on with you and the enemy team, as well as for some self-improvement? We don't have anything to announce in that direction or anything, but that's definitely something we're interested in. What about more lore and single player content? I totally hear what you're saying, and we have a number of things in development on the story side. It is something we're continuously working on. So Overwatch is a team-based game. You win or lose based on how well you play with those other 5 people you queue up with at random mostly. So my question is, why is there such a lack of social aspects in Overwatch? There's no real way to meet people outside of third-party applications like Discord. We talk about this internally and there are a lot of different ways you could design something like this, especially for the competitive scene. We've internally had discussions about, do we need some sort of a looking for group system or something like that? There are a lot of challenges in designing something like this, but we know that there is is a desire in the community to start either looking for players based on the role they're gonna be playing, or sometimes there's frustration about the type of group you get put into through matchmaking, and this is something we talk about, but we really don't have any details to discuss on it. And this already concludes our roundup of the developer Q&A for Overwatch. I decided to leave my opinion out of this and only provide you guys with a summary of things I found relevant. But let me know how you feel about these questions and especially those answers down in the comment section below. But until then, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.